Bum, 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 the Theatre Mum. Bum. Hello everyone, welcome back to The Theatre Mum, the podcast that shines a light on all the jobs you can do in the creative industry that aren't the usual big ones that everybody talks about. It's me, Holly, I'm still here, and I am rejoined this week. It's Jamie Ledwith, he's back!
Hello. It's like I didn't go away anywhere and I've been sitting here the whole time
waiting for months for me to come and see you again.
Can I come back out of the cupboard, please?
I'll let you out to speak for 1 hour and then you can get back in the cupboard again.
Yeah, thank you.
This week, I'm actually going to talk to Jamie about one of his other lives. If you joined us last time, we talked about extra work. So go and listen to that if you haven't already. And this time we're talking about his main job that he did for like over 20 years, probably longer, being a musician, doing lots of gigs by himself as a solo artist and in bands and in tribute bands. There's just so many.
I'm wonderfully terrified of what you're going to throw at me.
Now, I actually did my this or that warm-up with you last time. So would you like to do word association warm-up?
Oh my goodness. Cannot think of anything I would rather do. Let's do it.
Obviously, these don't have to be serious, but tell me the first thing that comes to your head when I say this word.
There's going to be a psychologist will listen in and think he needs to be sectioned.
He must be sectioned immediately. If anyone comes and knocks on the door with a white jacket in hand.
All of my answers will be to do with like serial killers and murder.
Oh, God. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oblong.
Square.
Goat.
Bar.
Strawberry.
Fields.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
A cross pig.
Angry moo.
That's so strange because my next one is milk.
Cow.
Umbrella.
Womble.
Postbox.
Letter.
Hammer.
Nail.
Sandwich.
Filling.
Smile.
Wibble.
Wibble.
I just had Blackadder in my head for some reason. He's like, Wibble. Goodness sake.
Bum, 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 bum. Great. So enjoy digesting those questions, psychologists. I can't wait for your feedback. Shall we? Shall we go into my questions?
Yes,
right.
Dive in.
Right, we're going to go right back to the beginning. Cast your mind back, darling. What got you into the musician life?
When it all kind of kicked off is I taught myself guitar, I taught myself piano, and when I was at university, the guy that I was living with, Stan, we used to write joke songs about people, about lecturers, about other people, some of the things that I won't repeat on here by any stretch of the imagination.
You do funny things when you're teenagers.
Yeah, of course you do. We would just kind of write stuff, make each other laugh. We would record it on an old tape that we used to pick up the sound of the tape as well. So we had to make a noise to kind of deaden the microphone or to balance it before we would start recording anything. This is going somewhere as to where I was going with. And I started writing stuff. I started when I finished university. I wrote some shows, and I as a result of being in some musicals and writing some things, I got to know other musicians and people. And then, long and short of it was what got me into the actual professional singing sort of career is about 5 years after all of that, I bumped into a friend at the gym, a certain Baggy Poo, as he is lovingly known.
Baggy Poo!
Yeah, absolutely. And he just said, I work with a guy who puts together bands for weddings. Literally, he was almost like a fixer, so he would have a pool of singers, bass players, drummers, guitarists, and he would put them all together into a band and send them out to kind of go and do a wedding. They needed another singer. Baggy said, would you be interested? And I just did what I always do, and I think I alluded to this on the last podcast. I said, you're all right. Went along and sang a couple of songs for them, and they just went, yeah, he'll do. I mean, he's not the best, but he'll do. And started singing at weddings. The first gig that I did for them, they had like a 2-set list, so I had at least a framework of songs to pick from, and that kick-started the whole thing of singing essentially sort of professionally from there on. I remember the first song that I did was at a wedding. It was a first dance, and ironically the bride and groom had picked Sit Down by James, and they wanted everybody to get up and dance. So I quite like the ironic touch of that as well.
Can you also tell people the reason why you started playing guitar?
Oh, it's to pull women, basically. There is no filter to it whatsoever. I remember I'd been up at the Edinburgh Festival. I would love this if the people involved in this were listening on this. There was a guy who, and in my mind, I mean, he was very sort of lovely bloke, very witty, but somewhat kind of, I guess, normal looking, but looked a bit like the kind of stereotypical geography teacher. I just remember a lot of brown patches on elbows and that kind of look. And he probably wasn't like that at all, but that was how it came across. But he had a very beautiful choreographer girlfriend. And I remember having this, why is she with him, sort of look about it. And at one point, he picked up a guitar and started playing, and everybody gravitated around him, and I thought, there it is, that's why. And it suddenly kind of made sense of people kind of gravitating towards talent, and people can be a centre of attention by doing something that actually is relatively speaking, is quite simple. But it's something that music genuinely does bring people together and bring people around. And you know, I was 17-year-old thinking, you know, what's going to make me more attractive to women? I'm not going to lie to you.
I want to pull the ladies.
Yes, I want to pull the ladies, and playing the guitar is much better than my face.
Look at my hands on my guitar.
Yeah, it distracts you away from my mush.
You have a lovely mush.
I do now, but
now
when I was 17. Yeah.
What was it like getting work when you first started? What sort of work?
It was all weddings. It was via this, what was tantamount to an agency. And they would phone us up during the week and just saying, we're doing a wedding in such and such an area. And we would kind of let them know beforehand, weeks before, we can do this Saturday. And so they would literally just say, right, this is where you're going to be on Saturday. This will be the first dance. Learn this song. And I think actually what really helped with that, and that way of learning, and has affected everything in the way that I play music nowadays, was because this was 25 years ago. And it was before we really had the opportunity to use things like YouTube or find the chords to every song ever on the internet. So we would have a first dance to learn on Saturday. Sometimes we would be given that song on the Thursday. And the way we would learn it was we would listen to it. We would have to find it somewhere online, or if we had it as a CD or even a tape, we would listen to the song and we would work out the chords, and then we would kind of liaise with the other people in the band. And what was nice about it was that to a certain extent we would be playing with generally the same people. There would be a core of us in the band. Occasionally we'd have a different drummer, because it wasn't like you were in one single band. You were being put together with other people, and occasionally we would turn up at a wedding and that would be the first time we'd ever met the drummer. But because we were playing to a click track that had a few extra instruments. So we had a framework to work with. So as long as they knew how to play with the click track, you could fit in. And so it was viable to kind of go and work in that way. But in terms of the chords and what we were playing and different instrumentation and things like that, yes, you had a framework, but we would still need to work stuff out. And a lot of the time, especially with the first dances, that would be one we weren't doing with the click track. So the first time we would ever play it together with the band was often as that first dance started.
Scary.
You kind of get through it and it becomes quite exciting. And what you'd often do with most songs was like, well, we'll keep it simple. So, and a lot of the time where I was singing and playing guitar, I would tend to kickstart the song. So I would set the rhythm, I would set the pace of it.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have the other instruments would kind of fit in with what I was doing. So from my point of view, there was a lot of responsibility from that point to kind of go and be on top of it and to get it right straight away, in a sense. And we would often try to, in the sound check, provided there weren't any other people in the room, try to at least kind of get a bit of a run through or practice the beginning and how we would get into the song and then practice the end. And we would have like a while to at very least kind of chat about how we were going to go and approach this. But that was my way of being dropped into kind of playing these things, and it was great fun because you do have to kind of fly by the seat of your pants a bit in a sense like that, but you learn to trust other musicians, so you kind of learnt things about being in a band that it goes beyond just rehearsing each week and something like that. It was very different. My experience of being in bands is never rehearsing, is turning up and trusting the other musicians.
Because there are other people I know in bands who they do rehearse every week. Yeah. And they then add new repertoire to their sets.
and that's great and what works for them. But it's really bizarre because to me that's quite an alien concept.
Yeah, why do I want to rehearse? I just want to turn it. You have such a swing brain. You would be great as a swing in a show.
Maybe I would. Yeah. My days of swinging are over. What? Pardon?
Wait, what? Do you think it's helpful if you are wanting to go out as a musician to be in bands or as a solo artist? Do you think it's helpful to know how to play an instrument? Do you think it's an essential thing?
It's not essential. It's not essential if you wanted to be a singer and you wanted to kind of go and do that.
Sing with tracks and things instead.
Yeah, but I do kind of think it's like anything. If you can do more than one thing, it opens up possibilities to you. But I honestly do feel that I was a better singer because I sang with guitar or because I sang with a piano. And certainly to begin with, in terms of the very first few sort of gigs ever singing in front of people, if you're standing there and singing, you are incredibly exposed.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I could never imagine doing stand-up comedy because you've got to keep people's attention and it's totally exposing. At least if you've got a guitar, it's a shield. Yeah. And if you, at any point, and if you were, say, doing a solo gig, you forget the words, you get a bit stuck. You've got a backup to kind of go and cover any mistakes
this
that
is an
you kind of have. Yeah, I'm going to do an instrumental now. But that's you have that, and even if you never use it, you know in the back of your mind that you have that as a safety net.
Yeah.
But actually, I really did feel like physically holding guitar is very kind of medieval, like holding a shield in front of you, and more so having like a piano. I mean, that's one hell of a tank to hide behind.
What differences do you find playing in different sorts of venues? For example, playing in a pub compared to playing in, say, a wedding venue. What sort of differences?
Playing at a wedding venue, generally speaking, even if you are singing on your own or singing with a band, you can rely on the set list almost exclusively. You will probably get a few people that might request things, but you can stick to the set list. You can be flexible with it, but you know you have something that you could, if I stuck to that, I can get through the whole sort of thing and it will be great.
Yeah.
Playing in a pub, I think it's beneficial to have a more flexible mind.
Yeah.
People in pubs tend to, I say it in a respectful sort of way, can be a little bit more leery, can talk to you and try and have conversations with you while you are singing. Which is like, I'm actually singing into a microphone, I can't really have a chat back. But people do request songs.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did notice and realise very soon playing in pubs was that people would ask for songs all the time. And you would start to kind of recognise a pattern of what types of songs certain people in certain pubs would want. So I kind of built my repertoire in two ways. I built my repertoire from the first dances that I was adding one, maybe two songs every single week for a wedding. So by the end of the year, I'd already added another 50 songs just from doing first dances. But being in a pub, I just kind of realised that if somebody asks for, let's just say someone asks for Wonderwall, and it might be an Oasis song and you think, I really don't want to play that. However, there might be another Oasis song that you think, I don't mind that one, that's quite quirky. So I found that if I had one song by as many different artists as possible. If somebody said to me, oh, can you play Wonderwall? And I say, I can't, but I can play Live Forever by Oasis. Will that do? And it just shows that actually you've then got, it's sort of like a flexible mind. It's like, okay, I'm taking on board what you want to kind of go and hear as a song. Can't do that exact one, but I've got this as an alternative that should maybe fit in with what you want. And I mean that, and people quite like that, and people like it when you respond to the audience and show that flexibility, but also show that thinking on your feet. And I mean that is one of those things that really, it only can come from experience, and it only comes from recognising what people tend to ask for. And like I said, you don't have to know every song ever written. Although I did used to like it if someone asked for a song and he said, I don't know how to play that, and they would respond with, oh, I thought you were professional. Being professional doesn't mean that you know every song ever written.
Quite often off the top of your head as well. Because although sometimes I know you would have an iPad with music there if you needed it. I know.
To begin with, it was paper. iPad.
Oh yes, we've got folders and folders full of song lyrics and chords and sheet music. So, I mean, at some of those gigs though, actually you're hired as the musician, but you're not the centre of attention. So if it's an evening at a wedding, obviously people want to dance and party, so their focus is on you. But there are some gigs you've done where you're really very background almost completely ignored. But you're inadvertently providing some atmosphere.
100%.
I mean, because at the moment you play piano at a hotel. And that varies week to week, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, in that particular instance, I am way down the pecking order as to why anybody is there. I am there to create the atmosphere while people are eating in the restaurant. Or why people are happening to be staying in that hotel. I love it, and it's really nice. And it's nice when people acknowledge the fact that you are sitting there and playing stuff, and it might be stuff that they recognise, but I'm not the reason that they're there. Whereas if it was specifically a gig in a pub, then maybe people have come down especially because they want to hear some live music. My favourite example is once at a wedding we had a DJ, and he couldn't have announced this in a worse way that kind of put us up against it straight away. All of the wedding stuff had happened all day. The DJ played a couple of songs, and then we were about to go on, and the DJ says, okay, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we're all here, and then names the band. It's like, it's a wedding. We are.
I don't think it's us here to see, guys.
Gotta be honest, but I mean, it kind of put us up on the back foot straight away, and so we just had to be really
No pressure.
friendly. Absolutely, and I think in that respect, we just had to give the DJ that whole kind of what's he on about, guys?
Yeah, obviously we're here for Mr.
Yes, your bride and groom, kind of her president.
Where do you find the work? Is it about networking? Is it about using, I mean, obviously 25 years ago it wouldn't have been about social media and using that to find work or websites and things.
Well, to begin with, what it was, personally, I started off doing the wedding band stuff. That was all through the guy that was putting the wedding bands out there. He had a company that he did that. When I left that band, I then went and sang with a couple of other bands, and they were run by other people, and some of those bands were quite well established, and so that they were contacted. So the band stuff, I never had any say in stuff like that. What I did, that I can say was totally mine, was when I wanted to kind of go and play in pubs. Was I would go into pubs and a lot of people would just say, oh, have you got anything I can listen to? And at the time they're asking, have you got a CD? Because again, it wasn't stuff that was hosted. And I was like, I haven't got a CD. I have got my guitar with me right now and I can play you a song. And so I would literally walk into pubs and just say, I haven't got a CD to listen to. Let me play you a couple of songs right now. And then I would just do a quick 10-minute medley of stuff. And that got me pretty much all of my pub gigs. Wow. And interestingly, one pub gig that I went into, which wasn't far from here, it was up in Hermitage. I went in, I did exactly that, and there was a guy sitting at the bar. He was on his own, and he phoned up his fiance and said, there's a guy here playing guitar and singing. It'd be perfect for our wedding. I got booked for his wedding, which was going to be in that pub. Right there and then, pretty much. They had originally were going to have a DJ, and I walked in and did that, and they went, no, we want him, and changed their plans.
Oh, that's nice. You also used for a while Mandy, but weren't you one of the first ones who signed up?
Yeah, it was before it was called Mandy.com. I can't remember what it was called now as well, but I was one of the first 100 people that was signed up on there. But I've got to be honest, I don't remember whether or not I got any or much work out of that at all. I got occasionally a couple of recording things that people would advertise that they needed somebody to do some recording of a song. So I think and it might not have been through that exact website, but there was a couple of websites that were like that I got some little studio recording stuff to go and do.
I quite often see wedding sort of requests posted on there actually nowadays. But because you were the first 100, didn't you get a special lifetime membership?
Yeah. Yes, I did. Absolutely. Of which it's like, okay.
Yes, I've still got it. Don't use it. But
absolutely, yeah.
What would your process for, say, a pub booking be? So you've gone in, you've played them some songs, and they've gone, yeah, all right, we'll have you. What do you then do next?
I would then find out from them what nights they would prefer me to kind of look at as being potential dates. I would normally go in there with a set price as to how much I would want to get paid for the evening. Some places would want to negotiate it, and if sometimes they were a bit on the fence about it, I would then maybe come back and say, well, look, this is how much I would want to get, but the first gig I would be happy, say, to do it half price or at reduced rate, see how it goes, and see if people like it. Because the whole point of you playing music in a pub and playing covers in a pub is that you are there to keep people in the pub or to bring other people into the pub, so they spend more money behind the bar. That is totally what any pub landlord will be looking at getting somebody in to kind of go and play.
Yeah.
The pub doesn't want to necessarily bring in somebody who's going to be there to promote their own music. That's not on their agenda. They might want to be a pub that wants to encourage that, and that's brilliant. But ultimately, if they're going to pay for something, they want to see a return on it. It's
Yeah.
like any investment in that respect. If you then become a pub that has live music 4 or 5 times a week and gets known for that, then they can be a lot more flexible in what type of music it's going to be, because people will come because it is a music pub. But if it was a one-off every now and again, so it's just kind of striking that balance. You're selling yourself in that sense. Which is why covers always seem to work a lot better, unless it's a particularly supportive landlord who's really into wanting encouraging new music and people to go in, which is great, but obviously a bit rarer. So the covers that they want to hear, they want to people that are going to go in and want people to kind of enjoy it and recognise the songs that are in there. And you can throw in the odd song that people aren't expecting. And that gets quite fun when you kind of throw in songs that everybody knows, everyone will sing along to, but they just think, bloody hell, I wasn't expecting this guy with a guitar to be playing Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears, for example, and have the entire pub singing out aloud to it. And there are some songs that you just think, well, I'm not going to start with that, but I will, somewhere towards the end when people are drunk enough and everyone's kind of singing along. I say singing along, you know what I mean? Like a football crowd. That works really well. And the other good thing about working in a pub and that environment, and you recognise you almost become a slight psychologist in a sense, because you start recognising human behaviour and what songs people might want at certain times. But also you kind of see what people are like when they get a little bit more drunk, when they get a little bit more merry, when it goes maybe a bit too far, and you think, actually, I don't want to do the songs that are going to G people up at the moment, because actually,
calm down.
we just need to kind of do that. But that's good, because then you learn that flexibility in terms of being a musician and being a singer and being a performer. You recognise what people want, and it helps you with the idea of how to construct a playlist. I mean, after a while, there would be, I would have in my mind, there would be a whole load of songs that I would almost never play in a first set. But then similarly, there would be a bunch of songs that I would never close an evening with, unless it was the kind of old vaudeville thing of, let's have something really rubbish at the end because we need to get people out.
Yeah, you all need to leave.
Yeah,
Thank
everyone
you.
needs to leave. So let's play
They've rung the bell.
Really
Last
rubbish.
orders. Off you bop.
Yeah, so people aren't mooing at you going, moo.
Yes, no, we don't want an encore.
Yeah.
I've been playing for 3 hours.
Yeah,
So
precisely.
you've negotiated your price, you've got a day booked. What do you do on the day?
Because of my setup and what I had, I'd always know how long it would take me to set up and sound check. So at the very least, for myself, it was normally about 45 minutes beforehand. I could get all my stuff in and set up in about 15-20 minutes, do something that takes 5 minutes just to check the levels are right. And if it's just myself and the guitar, it's not that complicated at all. Obviously, the more members of a band that you add into it, then you have to kind of take that on board. How long does it take the drummer to set up? How long does it take to sound check the drums? Are you going to mic up the drums, or are they literally going to be ambient in the room that you're going to be in? And sometimes you don't know that until you turn up at a venue. Sometimes you'll turn up at a venue and they've got a sound limiter as well. And sometimes those sound limiters are set so low that you can actually turn off your own mic. I'm not talking about experience there, am I, really? But it's, there's so many factors.
If you're looking to hire musicians, just check whatever venue you're using doesn't have a sound limiter.
Well, the venue
first.
should let you know beforehand, but that isn't always the case. But but things might have changed since my day.
No. So you've set everything up, you're ready to go, you'll play your first set. You would usually have a break, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd normally do 45 minutes to an hour depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes I would set out and just think, I'll do 45 minutes. But then you just feel that there's an engagement and you're just enjoying it, and you get to 45 minutes and just think, I don't really fancy stopping, I'm going to play an hour. And I just would do that, and I would... Again, it was being flexible. I know there would be some musicians and some people, it's like, no, 45 minutes and then I'm going to take a break.
This is our set list. We finish these songs and that's it.
And that's fine. You know, everyone's each to their own. I was just kind of quite
It's easier when you're on your own as well, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah, absolutely. And I could just literally just do the next song. Whatever that might be at the time, to be perfectly honest.
And then when you would then finish however many sets you were doing for that particular gig, what would you do at the end, aside from obviously packing everything away?
What I tend to do is, before I start the final set, I would have been speaking to someone behind the bar or somebody that's working within the venue. I kind of would say to them, when we get to our last song, just to encourage people that actually this is the end, maybe kind of turn on the lights or change the atmosphere in there, turn the lights up a little bit more. Some weddings you would finish, or my sets might be that I would finish at 11 o'clock. They were told that live music has to finish at 11, but the music can finish at 12. And that was great, because when the hotel or a venue or a pub has an absolute cut-off point, you can finish at that point, and then you can put some music on, and then everyone, say the rest of the band, we can all be literally taking all of our stuff away, and you've just got songs just kind of playing through the PA up until the end. And so by the time it gets to midnight, all you've then got to pack away is the computer and the PA and everything, you know, the drums, all of the other musicians' instruments and amps are all packed away. The other thing as well is that you would tend to find out beforehand with any venue, you'd find out parking, is there space for more than one car if it's for a band, and we know where's the best get in and get out sort of area as well, because some venues there's one way in, and that would, you know, what you don't want to be doing is you're packing away and you've got music playing, and the only way in and out is through the centre of the dance floor. So you pack all your stuff away and you just leave it where the band were, and then you kind of it's you know, every place has a slight difference to it. Some places will almost have like a dressing room behind a stage area, and you can use that, and that's also, you park your cars by that door, so literally you can finish at 12 o'clock and you're in the car and out by 12:15 and you're on your way.
Luxury.
It's
and would you take payment straight away, like from the venue when you finished? Would you invoice them and do like a 30-day
for
terms?
Weddings it's not the venue, it's the couple. And a lot of the time, and there would certainly be, the way that I did it would be that they would give me part payment to save the date beforehand. In some cases it might be you need to pay the invoice or pay this before the day. And a lot of bands, I was never the one that was actually organising the bands themselves, but I think most of the time it was, most places would be encouraged or told that they needed to pay on the day or within the week. And again, sometimes it depends on the people running the band. It could be that actually when I was doing a lot of solo weddings, you know, occasionally it would be friends who had booked me, and it was like, well, I know you where you live or whatever, and I can be a little bit more flexible about it. But then similarly, when they are friends of mine, then they would want to pay me up front beforehand as well.
Quite often the pubs as well, they would pay you in cash at the end, because obviously they've made all the cash. Although I guess nowadays that's probably a bit trickier, because a lot of people pay by card for everything, so.
But there's still be a lot of cash that's in there. But I mean, that stuff, you just arrange that beforehand.
As long as everyone's clear and they've communicated what's happening,
so
there are no surprises.
The key. Communication is key.
Isn't it? Not that people like to talk about money, but hey, I do, and that's what people want to know, is how much do you charge for What would be your sort of everyday sort of price for?
Oh, crikey.
So let's start with a pub, because I know it would be different for weddings and things. So if you were booking a pub gig, what would you offer them and how much would you charge them?
Now, bearing in mind this was going back.
This is a few years ago now, so the prices would be more for sure.
I have it in my head that I was probably doing an evening, and I would do. I would always play more than I think a lot of people would, but because I really enjoyed it as well. So I would often do somewhere between like 45 minutes to 3 hour sets. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I've got it in my head that I was doing that for 175. Mm-hmm. It's like anything. I think, once you kind of get a reputation, once people know you, once people trust that actually...
You're going to do a good job.
You're going to do a good job, and it's people that are going to be in there are going to stay in there to the end of the evening. The more people that stay in there to the end of the evening, the more they're going to drink, the more money they're going to put behind the bar, and it builds up a reputation. So I certainly seem to think it was 150 to 175, and I was happy with that. And I mean, I could have played shorter sets. I could have easily done 3 45s or 2 1 hour sets, for example. But my problem is that, say, if I started at 8 o'clock, and in a pub they wanted me to finish at 11, 11:15. If I did my first set at 8 o'clock, I would then finish a 1 hour set at 9 o'clock. I just couldn't be bothered to then sit around until 10 o'clock for an hour, even though I was in the pub.
Yeah.
But because I'd have to drive home afterwards, I could have a drink.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be bothered to then wait an hour to then start again at 10 o'clock, 10:15.
When actually you're there to play music.
Absolutely, and I enjoy doing it. So what I would often do is might play 8 till 8:45, 9:15 till 10 o'clock, and then 10:15 up until close, which tends to be about 11:15. Yeah. That way, they've got about 2.5 to 3 hours worth of music out of me. And I was just never really good at that whole kind of that dead space in between. And I would kind of put music on, but I'd just be literally might just chat to a few people, and then you're just sitting there waiting. Until the time to start the next set. But that was me, sort of. But
now it is different for weddings, because you've done sort of the ceremony playing, you've done the afternoon where people are milling about before they have their dinner, and you've done evening, get the party started sort of gig stuff
I've covered
for weddings.
All elements.
Yes, there
of a
are
wedding.
so many different types you can do at a wedding. So even if you're not like a party sort of performer or musician, that's okay, because you could play in a ceremony and sing a few songs.
Well, every bride and every groom has got a different idea of how they want the ceremony. I was never a classical singer, but some people would want somebody that could sing a beautiful aria during the ceremony. What I got asked to do during the ceremonies would maybe 1 or 2 songs on a guitar, 1 or 2 songs on the piano.
And that would be as they were walking down.
Yeah, I mean there would be 3 sections that you'd be expected to do that. Something maybe just beforehand and as the bride walks down. Something for the signing of the register, so that could be a couple of songs.
Yeah.
And then something as they walk out. And in all those cases, you always kind of have to be aware that actually you might not sing the whole song.
Yeah.
So especially as the bride is walking down, I always had it, and I'd always make them very sort of aware that when you get to the front, I will bring the song to a close. I'm not going to leave you waiting there for a minute and a half, because I am damn well going to finish this song.
But the good part of the song's at the end.
Absolutely, yeah. I haven't got to the best bit yet.
Yeah,
wait.
the aisle is actually only like 10 feet long.
Yeah, but then similarly for the signing of the register, they'll normally ask for 2, possibly 3 songs.
Yeah.
But I'd always say, pick the song you really want to be the first one. The other 2, depends on how long it takes to sign the register, because then again, you don't want to be just standing there twiddling your thumbs and waiting, and I will bring it to a close. But then similarly, if they pick 2 songs, I would say have a third one in backup, because if I get through those 2 songs, I want to have a song at sort of at the end that we know
out,
that yes, and it's also for walking out. You don't want to be playing something that's like, or you're thinking, be flexible enough to, well, they've all walked out the church now. Why am I still singing? I've got another 3 minutes to go. Just remembered as well, my favourite question that I would always put to brides and grooms when I would meet them was in terms of the songs that they might want to kind of go and pick for the evening for the ceremony. Was, are there any songs that you categorically do not want me to play?
Yes, I was talking about this with Kenzie.
Yeah, because maybe, this was their first dance at their first marriage.
Yes.
So they tend to forget that is actually something to be aware of, because you can start thinking of all the songs that you want as a bride and groom. This is a song I want, this is a song I want, this is a song I want. But you forget that actually, oh God, I don't want any reminders of that song or this particular time.
And it's only when you start playing they go,
or don't play this one as well, because this was my darling Auntie Doris's favourite song and it would just set me off and make me upset. So, it's things to be aware of.
Yeah.
But secondly as well, one thing I used to love doing, and the amount of times when you kind of put this question to people, their eyes kind of light up. Are there any songs that you would like me to play as a bit of a wind-up? Is there a song that your best man absolutely categorically hates and that I can say, this one's for John, the best man?
Special shout out.
Yeah. We know that his favourite song is Lady in Red. So this one, John, is for you. And so just joke songs as well. And
Didn't you do a Benny Hill at one of them?
I didn't play it, but they had asked for Yakety Sax is the name of the song, which is the Benny Hill theme tune, and they just came up to me and just said, you don't happen to have that, do you? And it turned out, because at the time I said, actually, yes, I do. It's my ringtone on my phone. And I said, I'll have to stop the music and plug it onto the phone to kind of get it to play. But I actually happen to have it. And I love the story of that because it was a really bizarre moment. So the groom, it was requested by his mum and dad. And they said that when he was younger, he was a very good-looking 15-year-old boy. And he used to walk home from school. But so many of the schoolgirls would follow him home. So he'd come home down the street and there would be a gaggle of schoolgirls walking behind him. And so they used to joke that he was like a walking Benny Hill sketch of Benny Hill running down the street in double time sort of film with these girls running after him. So it was an in-joke in the whole family of the Benny Hill theme tune. So I put it on, and then suddenly everybody just started running around the dance floor like a Benny Hill sketch.
Stop what they were doing.
And just went straight into it.
Put down the champagne, Nanny. Time to run.
Nobody really said anything. They just went straight into it. But the best bit was when it got to the end and everyone just went back to normal. And it was the most...
fever dream.
It was the most bizarre situation because then everyone just kind of went back into it like, did that actually happen? And that's why we had it at our wedding.
What sort of prices would you charge for a wedding? Because I know, obviously, whenever anyone says it's a wedding, suddenly zeros get added to the end of the price.
Yes, it would be more than sort of a pub gig. And the reason for that is the responsibility of it. You invariably, if it was just in the evening, you would be there, you would be set up. You want to be set up and discreet beforehand. have everything there. You want to be set up at the times that they give. You want to be set up by that time. You want to, if there was a first dance or a couple of songs that they'd asked you to learn, if they were songs that weren't normally in your repertoire, then you're putting in that time well before the day to make sure that you get that. And particularly for a first dance, a song that's going to be
quite a lot of responsibility,
and it's going to be videoed, it's going to be there forever, so you want to get that right, or do a version of that really sort of fits the mood of it. So that needs to be learnt, notwithstanding the fact that actually you spent years of kind of getting this right, but that's the same as any job that you're paying. You know, what they're paying for is the consistency of it. I mean, yes, you could probably find, certainly I always knew, you would find sort of cheaper, and you would find someone that might be a better singer or a better musician. What my personal selling point was that I knew a lot of songs. I knew a hell of a lot of songs, and if somebody at the wedding just came out and just said, "Oh, can you do this song?" then a lot of the time, and again, this came from working in the pubs, I would say, "Yeah, I can do that song," or I can do something that's going to fit in. So my selling point was that versatility that came from years of experience. But it's all those things that you've got that responsibility. You don't have a second chance on certain things. You can't do the first dance a second time or other specific songs. You are being paid to be, one, of a certain standard, two, to be of a certain personality, and that's there, that you can't be in a pub. You can kind of be a little bit more standoffish and stuff like that, but you've got to be professionally minded at a wedding as well, and then you are expected to then play up until the end, which might be dictated by the venue or that you've agreed it with the bride and groom. And then at the end, it's just, you know, being nice, being friendly, being polite, and being professional. That's what you're being paid for. So that's why those things need to and should be paid more than a pub gig. You've got more flexibility in a pub gig. You can be, I say less professional, but I only mean it in the terms that
there's less pressure on you.
There's less pressure. And if there's not many people in the pub, you can be a little bit, you know, there's a certain amount, you could be a little bit more lax. And if something goes a little bit wrong, it's much more forgiving. But in the end, I think that's why you could, you know, I would, depending on what I was doing at a wedding, I mean, it would normally be, it could start just for myself. For certain parts of the ceremony, it would probably start, I think, if I did a couple of songs during the ceremony, and again, because that is completely exposing, you have to know the songs inside out. You can't just bluff your way through sort of a song that you kind of know. I mean, sometimes in a pub gig, it can also be the odd song is almost like is like a glorified rehearsal to a degree. And if it doesn't work out, it's fine. You move on to the next one. It's like, okay, that didn't go well. I'll never do that song again. You're singing in the ceremony of a wedding. You know that the walk down, you might be playing a hell of a lot less, but every song, every note that you play, every word that you sing,
it's really important.
It's really important, absolutely. And it's, you know, as much as you think, it's important to them, you don't really know how important it is. You just kind of get an inkling of it. So, you know, I think from professionally minded, I would probably say that I'd always started at I think my minimum would have been $250, and then for myself as a soloist, it could have been to £500-600 or so for the evening. But they turn into long days, and if it's just yourself as well, you know, physically you've got to be able to kind of go and handle 3 hours worth of singing and engaging, and you want people to get up and dance. That's what people want at a wedding. So you've got to be physically fit. You've got to be kind of on it as well, and your energy towards the end,
needs to be higher than at the beginning almost.
Absolutely, and it's, you've got the one that's kind of carrying all these people.
And the other thing I think to remember if you were at an all-day wedding is to find out whether they were feeding you or not. Because obviously you get breaks throughout the day, and sometimes a lot of couples will have that in mind, that they'll give you some food as well, but obviously not everybody would, so you'd need to know in advance to take some sustenance with you.
Well, I mean, it's not even that. I would always I say I would insist. I don't like it to sound that I was demanding, but I'd always make that point that, if I'm going to be doing the evening wedding, I will turn up at 6:30. I will be leaving 12:30, and that would be absolute minimum. So and if I'm going to turn up at 6:30, I might have to leave home at 5:30. I'm not going to get home till 1:30. So when you kind of almost do the maths in a sense, you're asking me as part of the job to kind of be out for 8 hours at some point, and I just say that I'm going to need to eat at some point. Would it be, can you make sure that somebody, I would never stress. And I'd always, from a politeness point of view, and just saying that, sort of hot food will be preferred, but I'll leave it up to you, but I will need to eat something, and I also need to drink, because if you expect me to sing for 3 hours, but and I'd always be sensible about it, and I always kind of found that it was never an issue, and most people would have it in mind that we're going to do it. But similarly, that wasn't always the case, and it's in some
you don't
cases,
know what the venue's going to be or what their budget is and things like that. So it's just remembering to ask those questions when you have your first
just
meeting
to have
or
that
second meeting
conversation with people beforehand, and just saying that this is the case. We're going to need this. And sometimes, if, there can be that miscommunication, and that would be where there was always a problem, that the bride and groom feel that they've spoken to the venue and made them aware, but then the venue are getting so busy and so caught up in serving the guests that they genuinely actually kind of forget, there's miscommunication. And sometimes you just need to remind them. But
you don't have to be rude in your reminding. Always be polite.
Well, I mean...
Or if you need to be a little firm, that's okay, but still be polite.
But again, I would just say it from the same point of view that...
Help me, I'm weak and weeble.
Well, I'd always say, if it was at a venue, I would always mention to them before I start, and just saying that these are the times I'm going to take my breaks. I will need to eat something. And so... I would need to eat at this point between here and here. So would it be all right to make sure that I got fed at this point? Because what you don't want to do, and it happened on occasions where, right, we're doing our next set, we're starting at 10 o'clock, say, and then they would bring you a massive meal at 9:45, and then you'd suddenly wolf it down because you're starving hungry, and then you wobble onto stage, and it's like, I need to sing, but I can't
bounce around with my usual energy.
No, or I'm just worried that like a bit of food's going to get stuck to the microphone, or the burps that are going to inevitably happen. I got very adept at the side burps. Keep singing and kind of and twisting the mouth away from the microphone.
Or just leaning to the side.
As well. But the rest of the band would be very adept at spotting if I started getting a smile or a bit of a giggle in the mid-song. It's because you've just thrown a burp to one side, haven't you?
What do you think is the most important piece of equipment as a solo artist, if you were turning up at any venue to do any gig? What do you think is the most important in terms of quality?
I mean, the microphone, and to myself as a singer, 100%. But I mean, you match that up with the microphone and the amp, and the PA, and the whole setup. I mean, I think, you can have a wonderful mic, but if you've got crap speakers, then it's not going to make too much, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. So, if it's as it is with anything, if you want to do something professionally, then invest in equipment that you, one, know has got the quality, but two, you feel that you can rely on.
Yeah, it's not going to fuck up the second you plug in a
or
lead.
it's just a little bit cheap. I mean, it's the same things with leads as well, and it's actually...
They're not hugely expensive leads,
but
I wouldn't buy a cheap one.
No,
just in case, even though it's probably the same thing.
I mean, as it is with anything, you can have entry-level setups that are good enough to get you going and get the ball rolling.
Yes.
But then maybe as the experience comes in and maybe you start doing larger venues, you realise, well, I need a bigger speaker or speakers.
Yeah.
Or just, can I add in one more speaker to run alongside the one that I've got?
Yeah.
And actually that would cover most stuff that I would ever do. Certainly, where I've seen or heard the biggest failing in anybody and stuff like that tends to be with the speakers, that people kind of have a speaker that it might sound all right when you're the person standing next to it and it sounds fine, but as soon as you kind of move away, you can hear it's just not good quality. So, but I mean, there are so many good way better quality speakers and things that when I was kind of doing this as well. And you can get some incredible speakers that are unbelievably lightweight compared to the coffins that we were having to kind of carry
wheel out on a trolley.
Oh my goodness me, So the difference is no, it's like anything. Technology gets better and better. You can have one thing that just didn't exist when I was doing it, is that if you were doing something by yourself, you kind of had to trust how it sounded when you were singing into the microphone. The other end of hall, I mean, when you become like a wireless mic, then you've got a certain amount of distance that you can kind of go with it, or you can play sort of a backing track, for example, and then you go to the end of the hall and then you'd walk back to the PA and adjust it. So many of these things and PAs get adjusted wireless now on an iPad. So you can stand at the end of the room and you can do all of that stuff.
Yes.
And you can hear it at various different parts of the room.
Yes. The company that I write the show reports for, they just invested in a whole set of new microphones and it's all operated on an iPad.
Yeah. And it's brilliant. That gives you that flexibility, because then you can listen to
the quality is
in
so much
different
better.
Areas, because those speakers are going to bounce sound around different places within the room.
In the room. Not in the room. In the room.
In the room.
Now, I know sometimes you've actually, instead of getting paid for gigs, actually the people you're doing the gigs for have had something else worthwhile that you could almost do as a little trade instead. So it's a time for time.
Sex? Is that what you're hinting at here? I never did that.
I don't do that anymore. How dare you?
It's the way that you dropped your voice. Now I know sometimes you did this for sexual favours.
No, I know.
Only once or twice.
I mean, there are some gigs you've done where it's actually been at a gym or, for example, at a hotel.
Yeah.
And actually, that hotel has got a very lovely gym and a very lovely spa. And
I haven't paid for gym membership in ever. Because
if they've actually got something that, as long as it's equal in value to what you provide,
of course,
then actually it doesn't cost them any money.
Yeah.
Really.
It's perceived value, isn't it? And that's exactly what it is.
And you go and do once a week. You go and play piano for them in their restaurant/bar on a Sunday evening. They have a lovely time. It keeps people in there. People stay in and buy more drinks, which is the whole point. Yeah. And out of it, we get a little gym membership.
Yeah.
Which means we can also use their spa.
Yeah. It's like anything. If you're happy with what you can receive out of a deal, then it's going. It doesn't need to be financial. I mean, yeah, financially is lovely.
I mean, we do need to pay the bills, but
Yeah.
actually having a nice thing that you can, like having
Yeah.
access to a gym that no one really uses that gym either. There's
know.
not a whole lot of equipment there. There are probably better gyms that would be more beneficial, but in terms of what we do,
Yeah.
actually
great,
being
and
able
it
to
suits
use the
us, yeah.
jacuzzi and the sauna and not pay a penny,
Yeah.
guys, you need to
I know, but that's like
consider these
yeah.
things. I think, you know, it's
Of course
the
it is,
restaurants and hotels love live music if they've got the reason you ended up in there is they happen to have a piano in there.
Yeah. I mean,
Little baby
that
grand.
suits where I'm at myself now.
Yeah.
But you will often find that some restaurants and some pubs will try the whole sort of thing that, oh, you know what, come and play in here for free, and because it's good exposure for you, and it's like,
No, do not take it for
that's-
exposure.
no,
That's absolutely ludicrous.
yeah, or the, oh, you know what, we'll give you a couple of drinks or whatever.
That
for
should
free.
be
It's like, well,
included.
yeah.
Yes, you will give me drinks.
Yeah, but it's like anything. I mean, if you're just starting out, and if say you wanted to kind of go and
Get a
try
couple
doing
under your belt.
do a couple of restaurant gigs, and it's like, okay, I'd be quite happy to do this for some experience, if instead of kind of getting paid, then me and my partner could kind of come in for a meal. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think it's like anything, isn't it? You know your own worth.
Yeah.
And then kind of think, well,
What are you happy with?
How much would I like to get paid for this? And actually, does that balance out
Yeah.
with how much a certain service that they could be? And it's nice to be able to do that occasionally as well. And if it's something that is actually a mutual gain, mutual benefit, then it's nice.
And actually,
the situation
having done
we've got,
that work up at the hotel, there have been people in there who have booked you for their weddings,
Yeah, 100%.
based on hearing you there. So actually, you never know who's listening. And if you're a nice person, I find the people you're working for will often recommend you.
That's just it. I mean,
for other things.
playing music is that you might not feel that you are actively networking, but you are always in the shop window every time you perform, potentially. You never know who might be listening or who will be watching, or for whatever reason and whatever potential performance situation that they might be looking at. You could always be there. You might have a tiny crowd. You might be in a pub and there are 3 people in there, but one of those people is getting married. And and I mean, that's what happened in that
And that's
pub.
£500.
Yeah, I mean, potentially it could be whatever amount it could be as well. It's like, and it's just
You never know.
yeah, you never know.
You never knew.
You
never knew, dear.
Never knew.
So you obviously have depped in a lot of bands. Can you explain for anyone listening who doesn't know what depping is, what that is?
Depping is literally being able to turn up and cover a position in a band. Now that, I mean, from my point of view, that was always going to be as a singer. Mm-hmm. So, but that could be any instrument.
Drummer, guitarist,
okay,
bass,
absolutely.
saxophone.
Those are instruments. Well done, Holly.
Thank you. Just
For
showing off
recognising.
my music knowledge.
So, I mean, to be a good dep, again, knowing as many songs as possible, but also being flexible enough to be able to turn up to a band and they say, right, we're playing this song, and you would just kind of, again, have the whole Back to the Future thing. I'll watch you for the changes. It's like, just let me know, because as it is with any band, people, you play a song for years and years, the same song. You kind of add bits into it. You change it slightly because you want to make it interesting for yourself. As a band, you might add a slightly funkier section into one bit because it's saying, actually, this just limes it up, or it takes this song that the rest of the song is great, but this section is a bit boring, so they make something a bit different, or they kind of have a few guitar solos or brass section, or heavens forbid a bass solo.
Yeah.
Sorry to all the bassists out there. So, yeah, being a dep is that knowing a lot of songs and being instantly flexible to kind of go and fit in. But it's exciting, it's great, and it's great because you get to meet lots of other musicians as well, and or other singers that might be on there as well. And again, if you're singing with other singers, you've kind of got to be very mindful of what they're doing. If you're singing harmonies with them, it forces you to listen and to adapt and to be instantly responsive. And that's really good fun.
And balance with their voice.
Well, precisely. And that's why you've
people are
got to be
belters,
able
you know?
to... Yeah, and that's nothing wrong with being a belter, but actually it's knowing when to sit back and not try
to balance it.
To dominate the song, or just say, well, this is how I always do it. It's like, well, you're depping for us. The rest of the band play it like this.
Yes.
And so...
What sort of bands did you depp into? What sort of gigs did you do?
I mean, the majority of them, the most of the depping that I did were for other wedding bands, but some of them might have been they would kind of categorise themselves sometimes. Could be like a 70s or funk soul sort of thing, but generally most of them were sort of the kind of standard wedding party sort of band. Occasionally I did I think it was one that was exclusively an 80s band, and that was good, but because they were a little bit more niche, that I meant I had to learn a few other songs at least. Being familiar with the songs, if there are any songs that you don't currently do, you can have, and as it would be now, is you can have an iPad with the words in front of you, but you still gotta be familiar with the song and have an idea of when, if there's an instrumental, when do you come out of the instrumental, how do they start the song, when do they expect you to actually start singing? Do they do an intro that if it's a song that starts,
do that wide-eyed stare at each other and then the big nod?
Yeah, absolutely. And it then becomes just a bit of trust as well, that you get somebody in to cover a part, you like to think, well, they've come in to cover that part because somebody in the band knows them and trusts them and gets them in. You would almost never go and depp into a band where you've never met anybody in that band whatsoever. And that's where word of mouth and network. Well, every time you're in a band with other people, you're inadvertently working with
I worked with this
people.
singer, I'll see if they're free.
Yeah, and I think depping as well is that, one, can you do the job, and two, are you a nice person to spend 6 hours of an evening with? Because if you're not, and if you're a bit of an arse,
a bit of an arse,
people are less likely to want to work with you, funnily enough.
Strange.
Yes.
Were there any other ways you found those depping gigs? Weren't you in some WhatsApp groups and things? Did I imagine that? Or like there must be Facebook groups for we need like depping.
Yeah, there are actually, and I think most of those kind of really came into prevalence when I'd kind of finished. I was going to say, I would get WhatsApped by various people, but sometimes I would get asked by someone, a random number would message me and just say, but it would always be with you've been recommended by such and such a person. Okay. So as much as I might have just said, actually, I almost never depp with a band that I didn't know anyone there. They would be friends of friends.
Yeah, it would come from recommendation from someone you know.
And if someone's been recommended to you, then you trust that person's judgment as well. So yeah.
Now I know you've done some quite cool gigs. Can you tell me, say, like your top 3 coolest gigs that you've done? I could probably list 3 that you've told me, which I want to do now. The Natural History Museum. You did.
That was circumstantial. As a gig, it was a quite awful gig, but that's
it's a cool venue though.
It was a cool venue. It was.
Was the dinosaur still in there?
I think Dippy was still in there. But I think what made that really cool is that we were just sitting out the back somewhere in the human biology section, but the the event went on till so ridiculously late. And we were bored out the back, so we just started wandering around the Natural History Museum, and it was very much like Night at the Museum because
Wasn't that with a band called Wandering Hands though?
No,
Was that them?
no, I had been in there with Wandering Hands, but this one wasn't with them. The one that was, we just went off a wandering around there, and you know where all the stuffed animals are, but wandering around that in the middle of the night when you're the only one in the room as well is just a little bit spooky. But no, as a gig, I think we started it. I think we might have started at 11 o'clock was when we ended up being able to go on and do our first dance. And then we were told...
11?
Yeah, and then we were told everybody has to be out of the venue by 11:30. So you're not playing for half an hour. You're playing for literally 20 minutes, because if you don't finish at 11:20, then they haven't got the 10 minutes to get all of the people out. So it was...
It was,
yeah, but I mean, it was just, they had so many things going on and speeches, and I think it might have been a charity event, so they had other things that they needed to kind of go through. But yeah, it was only a fun, weird
just because of the venue.
Because of the venue, and because I got to wander around the Natural History Museum while it was empty.
At night.
Probably shouldn't have. And
Oh no!
Don't tell anybody. Don't put the post.
Don't put this any public place. Weren't there some rooftop gardens with some flamingos?
Yep, Kensington Roof Gardens. Did a couple of gigs up there, and that's lovely because it's slap bang in the centre of London. Big roof gardens. They don't have flamingos up there anymore, but they have kind of got, like, it was a little stream that ran around up there, and I'm sure there were kind of ducks, geese, and there used to be flamingos up there.
Are you making this up?
No, that's not.
You told me there were flamingos.
Yeah. But they're not there anymore. They're not there anymore. And I think probably because of drunk guests probably trying
with too much money trying to ride flamingos.
Well, I think given the state of their legs, I don't think riding them is a possibility.
Hi-ya.
Absolutely. But that was also a double whammy on Kensington Roof Gardens, because the one that really sticks in my head was an Austin Powers gig. And I got to, and I was dressed as Austin Powers, but they had converted the inside into Austin's Shag Palace, baby, yeah.
God.
And they had a circular bed with a Union Jack covers
Did it rotate?
On it. It didn't, but what I do remember is singing... you're just too good to be true, yeah, baby. Lying on the bed with a couple of lovelies either side of me.
Oh, a couple of lovelies.
But because of the gaps in there, I think I went like, you're just too good to be true. Do I make you horny? Can't take my eyes off of you. Yeah, baby, yeah. And just... literally all over this bed.
Oh, God.
But you had you can't be Austin Powers and not embrace it and go with it. And and our trumpet player didn't look a million miles from Dr. Evil as well. And it's like, yeah, right, and that's what I wanted him. I wanted to be Dr. Evil because I could do the voice a bit better. But sadly, he looked just like him.
You had to be Austin instead.
Yeah. Yeah. I purposely didn't brush my teeth for a week.
Another one I know you've done is where they brought the piano in for you. Wasn't that at the Ritz?
That was at the Ritz, yes. That one was... Oh my goodness.
But you didn't know till you arrived that they were literally wheeling a piano in for you. No,
this was the biggest imposter syndrome gig that I've ever done. I was, it was just myself and singing and playing the grand piano in the Ritz in one of the rooms out the back for a wedding party. So it's just myself. So I think there were probably about 40 to 50 people at the wedding. And I knew that they had a grand piano there that was... I think at the time it was underneath the stairs outside the room. So I was expecting I was just going to get wheeled into the room. But no, they'd hired in a grand piano because apparently, what it was explained to me, it was cheaper to hire in a grand piano and get it tuned once than to move the grand piano that's in the Ritz, get it tuned, move it back, get it tuned again. So
That is bonkers.
And I just remember being there as this grand piano turned up and just thinking, just me. I'm
hired a grand
here
piano
in the
for me.
Ritz. You've hired in a grand piano for me
It's
to
just
kind of
me,
come and
a
play.
little Essex boy.
Yeah, just a little goat geezer who turned up from Essex, who taught himself to play a couple of instruments.
I can play some
and
chords,
sing. Absolutely. Do you want a bit of I'll do a bit of Chaz and Dave for you.
Come on, sweetheart. Lounge on the
sweet,
piano for me.
Let's do some East End classics, shall we?
Roll
out
out.
the barrel. But I've got photos of this grand piano being wheeled in through the car park in amongst the Rolls Royces, the Ferraris, and
Crazy.
and it's just, I just found it a very bizarre situation where I was like, how on earth did I get here?
Strange things
Yeah.
do happen, don't
But
they?
lovely, really nice.
You also played some theatre shows playing Frankie Valli in a tribute band. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons tribute band.
I know. Well,
Lovingly called Bye Bye Baby.
Bye Bye Baby.
Bye Bye Baby.
Bye Bye Baby.
Tell us about Bye Bye Baby.
What?
What were they?
Okay.
Bunch of rapscallions. Bunch of dads wanting a night out.
Yeah, absolutely. Bunch of dads from Reading who thought they could sing and dance. No, it was very.
It was actually
professionally put
professional.
together. It really was. So I joined them, and funnily enough, I joined them as the bass singer.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Where did you find? Was that? Did you see that audition somewhere, or
Well,
did you know the
think
guys
it was
in it?
Yeah, I think it was an audition that came up, and I thought, oh, it sounds like it might be quite fun. or I got asked to do it, and I said, "You're all right."
Yeah, right.
I can't remember now. My brain isn't what it
No,
was.
but it started off as just gigs, like normal,
Yeah.
event gigs, and then it progressed into
became a theatre show.
shows.
Yeah, but I remember that the guy that was playing Frankie Valli, he decided he was going to leave, and so there was the whole. What
could do that.
what are we going to do? And
I know
remember
I'm
just
a bass,
thinking,
but
I
I
said,
could
yeah,
do
I might be
Frankie.
singing the bass, but it's like, well,
You've
actually
got
I
a
know
very
I
big
can
range,
strong
so-
falsetto,
Yeah.
and I thought, you know what, I reckon I might be able to do the Frankie Valli part. So gave that a go, and it was like, actually, you know what, that's great. And the wonderful thing about Frankie Valli from a singing point of view is that, and I guess a lot of people that consider themselves be lead singers, you would spend your life looking for something that really does set you apart from other singers, something that really does grab people's attention, and if you can get it right and hold their attention, and is like a huge show-off vehicle. And playing Frankie Valli is that straight away.
Yeah.
And when we did the theatre show, it was we would do a couple of songs to begin with, but you could palpably feel the audience waiting for you to do Sherry, Big Girls Don't Cry, Walk Like a Man, the really very obvious archetypal Frankie Valli voice. And the moment we went into Sherry, and then you could hear people realise, okay, he can do the Frankie Valli
Okay,
thing.
we can relax
Okay,
now.
we can relax and we can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because up until that point,
They want to hear those big notes, baby.
Yeah, but you don't want to start with that straight away,
No.
because it was a story, and it was kind of done in time order. I mean, it's not exactly time order, because it has to be a bit flexible to create actually a show and a piece of theatre and a storyline.
And the songs were shared between the rest
between
of the
the four
members.
of us,
Yeah.
But again, sort of the majority of the really big, very strongly recognised Frankie Valli numbers were sung by myself. But I mean, it was wonderful, because the whole sort of Four Seasons catalogue of songs means a lot to a certain generation. They ran from beginning of the 1960s, and then Frankie Valli pretty much up until Grease was the final song, I think, of his, with his voice, that really sort of stuck out. Yeah, he did other stuff, and they kept going, and Frankie Valli is still going in his 90s now.
Bless his soul.
Oh my goodness me, incredible. But I think there were a lot of people that came along. This was our first dance at our wedding. This was, the song My Mother's Funeral or something like this.
Yeah.
And so I think about 17 years or whatever of their songs, covers a lot of generations worth of songs. So it was meant a lot to a lot of people. And that's why it was very popular. That's why Jersey Boys was incredibly popular as a show. And rightly so, but the songs are brilliant.
They're good songs.
They're really, really good and fun. And there's a good balance of upbeat and meaningful and slow songs. And so it lends itself to something quite theatrical because you can have those moments of light and shade and up and down. But from my point of view, as a lead singer, you don't get a role that is quite as engaging and as noticeable and as show off as
quite
Frankie
fulfilling,
Valli.
really.
And incredible. And it was some of the best moments on stage. And without bragging about it at all, the amount of standing ovations that you just
the
even
fans
now,
were crazy at those.
Yeah.
Afterwards, honestly, you'd come out at the end.
The fulfillingness of it is incredible.
God, the hordes of women desperate for a photograph with the four of you.
Yeah, I know.
It was bizarre.
It was very bizarre because
when you're not used to that sort of
because I mean
thing,
it's a tribute, so you are not.
You're not the real people. Some people. There was one.
So I know exactly where you're going with this. So we did.
So stupid.
It really is. So we did the tour of South Africa.
Yeah.
And we were on
Yeah,
the
it went
Mandela
big.
stage.
International, thank you.
At the Joburg Theatre on the Mandela stage. And on the opening night, they had it was like a celebrity performance. So
Press
there
night,
were
yes.
press night celebrities. There were local celebrities, of which, God bless South Africa. Sorry, I didn't know anybody. But there were newspaper, TV and radio. I mean, we turned up and it was like, what? I mean, we were being treated like proper celebs, and this was like, what is going on here? One young girl, beautiful young girl from a local paper, and bless her, because she obviously didn't quite understand the whole concept of what a tribute was. So she was asking, and I wish I could remember what the questions were, but there were two questions that stuck in my mind that made it dawn on me what was going on here. And I went with it, and I wish I could find the actual interview in a newspaper. So we were having this lovely little chat. It was nice. And then she said to me, so it's Frankie Valli in the 4 seasons, but there's only 4 of you on stage. Why is it not Frankie Valli in the 3 seasons? So I said to her, that's just what the name of the band was. It started off as the 4 seasons, then Frankie Valli got bigger on his own, but then when he would come back, they were then sort of known as Frankie Valli in the 4 seasons. She said, oh, okay. Are you thinking of recording any new material? And it suddenly dawned on me that not only did she not quite get the idea of a tribute, she thought I was Frankie Valli. And this is why I really wish that I could remember some more of the interview on what I said, because I think I just ran with it after then. I just thought, this is brilliant. But I do remember saying that something along the lines, and at the time, Frankie Valli, I think, was 83.
Yes.
And I think or 82 or 83. And I'd said it in the show. And I think I then mentioned to her that I was like, well, I do look quite good for 82. But I think she kind of missed that. So, yeah, not only was I Frankie Valli in a tribute, I genuinely was, for a very short moment in time, I was interviewed as Frankie Valli.
You were the actual.
For
you were so convincing in the tribute act.
I must have been.
You looked so similar.
It's an honest thing.
So doing those theatre gigs, they weren't sort of regular, but it would be maybe 1, maybe 2 nights a week. Not
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah, we toured
all over
the
country.
country. Yeah, some wonderful, wonderful theatres. Again, it's when we're in the middle of it, and I think I've always kind of been like this. When you're in the middle of it, it's like you just get on and do it. It's only now looking back that I think, where was that we played? Where was that?
Travelled all the way to Aberdeen.
Crikey, yeah.
For 150 quid.
Galston Pavilion as well.
Yes!
Absolutely, yeah. It's
The pay on those sorts of things. I guess if you were in charge of the tribute act yourself, you could set your own price that you were happy. But was it the pay sort of worth the amount of time that you would put into that sort of thing? Because you wouldn't be paid for the rehearsals, were you?
Relatively speaking to what I was doing as either a soloist or other bands, it was less. I was doing it because we never would get a reception and an ovation like that. So that was, for myself, yes, I was getting paid for it, but
not huge amounts, but the joy of it was...
The joy of performing, and it was incredible.
Far superior to the amount you were paid.
Yeah, 100%.
Sometimes that's why we do it, you know, it's not the best paying job
and I
sometimes.
think that's just
but...
it. Because I had other better paying gigs that I was doing, then I was quite happy to kind of have that in that balance.
Yeah, it was cool as well.
Yeah,
that was a cool.
It was
cool
hard
job,
work as well. I mean,
it was a fully choreographed show with microphones.
So we were doing 35 songs, and I was singing in 34 of those, and it was all singing and all dancing for the entire show
with a live band as well. Yeah,
it was hard
it was
work.
a full-on theatre show. You know, not only have you been in all these different bands, you were also in your own band called Gunph. Weren't you? Tell me about Gunph.
Well,
what were they? What did you do? How did it start?
This was when I was younger.
Little booby baby.
I was a little cherubic minx of a...
with my little wings attached.
Yeah. So going back to when I was at university, I wrote songs, and then left university, and I did a couple of amateur shows and wrote a couple of musicals. But then as a result of that, I got on with the guys in the bands of those. And they were guys that wanted to form a band. But because I was singing in these musicals and because I was writing songs, it was like, well, actually, what we're missing is a potential songwriter and frontman. So I joined them as it was an additional frontman, as an additional songwriter, I beg your pardon. Our keyboardist Darren also wrote songs. So that's kind of how they were all at various different points in the bands of shows that I performed in. And we just thought, well, we'll just kind of hang out and try our own sort of stuff and write songs and perform them, and it was good. I mean, lovely bunch of us. There were 5 of us in the band, and it was really good fun. And I think, you know, I probably wrote about 2/3 of the song, and Darren wrote the rest as well. And it was really good. And I mean, it was a very, very good example of, you know, what could have been. As well, because
because you did really well, didn't you?
We were doing great, and we were, and I believe, and I may get some names wrong or whatever, but Sire Records were interested in signing us, and what we were told at the time was the woman who wanted to sign us, whose name escapes me right now, the band she had signed before had gone belly up, and so she had to wait till the guy that owns Sire Records, a guy called Seymour Stein, and he was famous. He apparently signed the Ramones and Madonna. We had to wait for him to come over from the USA to come and see us, to kind of give her the go ahead to sign us. So we were just kind of waiting, when's he coming over, and we're doing gigs. But the problem was, at the time, we had a couple of members of the band who were also about to head off to university. So we kind of had a bit of a time frame that if he comes over and sees us before then we can maybe kind of see where that's it at. But if it gets to this point, they're going to go off to university,
and then that's
no, we can't just
put our whole lives on hold.
And I mean, it might have been that he would have come over and wouldn't have been interested. But it's really is a case of, what if, wonder if, blah blah blah, that kind of thing, and that because we were sort of waiting for what looked like the opportunity, and it fizzled out, and then they went off, and because of the situation, it couldn't maintain carrying on in that respect. But for a short amount of time as well, that was great. And again, we did some cracking venues, met some cool people, cool places, and that was really good fun.
It's a shame that it's a what if episode, isn't it?
It is.
Although you've been sort of digitising some of your music, including some of the Gunph songs, haven't you?
Yeah.
That you wrote.
Yeah.
Which actually, if anybody wants to listen to any of those songs, you can look up on Spotify, Odd Shoe Guy.
In fact, if you just look up on any streaming service, if you put in one word, Odd Shoe, as one word, ODDSHOE, and then Guy as a separate word, I will pop up all over the place. And
I will get Jamie back to talk about life as a songwriter as well, not just for I'm saying pop music. It's not necessarily pop, but that sort of music, and also musicals, because he's also written musicals. But that's a whole nother episode, because we would be here for hours. I feel like that's a whole different subject. But
absolutely.
In the meantime, you can go and listen to some of his music.
Please do.
Please actually do.
Like and share.
Yes,
people. Thank
all those
you.
things that we need people to do, because it's good music. But it's stuff he wrote like over 30 years ago.
Yeah, in some
it's
cases.
seeing the light of day.
I know.
It's been hidden on tapes in boxes for years and years, and their crackly insides are coming out.
Ew.
What positives are there being a musician? I mean, because you did it for over 20 years as your full-time job.
Having that sort of, I think, that freedom, having that creative outlet, and even if you are just doing covers, you've got so much scope to be creative with it, and you can play around with things. You can play songs and there's some incredible covers bands that do songs in different ways.
Postmodern jukebox.
Well, I mean, that's the very obvious example of it, but they're not the only ones.
No, they're just a well-known
bands
one
as well that kind of do stuff, and it's there are some genius ideas,
little niche ones like the Mexican burrito band that you were in at one point.
Beto Burrito.
That's the one.
Absolutely. With our big sombreros that didn't fit on my head, but were kind of the more that I danced, I looked a bit like Doobie Duck. There's just some very, very, very good musicians and very clever, creative people out there, and I just think it's. Music can be fun, it can be meaningful, it can be heartfelt, it can trigger kind of nostalgic memories. And I think, from my point of view, it was such a joy, and what luck to be able to have a career within that industry in any way, shape or form, where ultimately I could bring songs to other people for various different reasons. From it's like from the shallowest, I like that song, that's really nice, I like singing along to that, to that was the song that my mum and dad had at their wedding, and to hear it done nicely means the world to me. And it's really nice, and it's so lovely that it ultimately came down to, it's just a song I sang for you one evening, but I've obviously done it to a degree that
it's meant something.
It's
to
meant
somebody
the
else.
world to somebody else.
And also, you're getting to be a musician, and get paid for it and live your life, and you're not earning thousands and thousands of pounds. It's not always easy because different times of the year are busier than other times of the year.
100%, yeah. I mean,
But
if you're talking...
you've not had to become famous to be able to live that life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there are so many situations that you can get into as a singer. I mean, it can be, it could be a paid hobby, or if you want to push it even more and more. And sometimes,
gigs. Like,
sometimes you need
want.
a little bit of luck in order to kind of get a little bit further. But quite honestly, I said yes to pretty much every gig, but also I just thought, well, okay, what's going to make me as good as I can be? You know, I mean, my voice is only going to get me so far. There are better singers out there, and there were better singers out there than me. So what's going to make me stand out? So I just thought, well, that's, you know, because work on my versatility, and actually, you know, don't be afraid to kind of change my voice or sing songs that maybe other people won't know, or just know as many songs as I can possibly fit in my head, so that if someone says, can you do this song, and it's like, yes I can. And sometimes that scares people when they, you know, they jokingly ask for, go on then, sing, I've got a brand new combine harvester. I did that. Someone asked me for that at a wedding, so can you sing the Wurzels? And I started singing, I've got a brand new combine harvester, and they ran off.
Oh God, he knew it!
Oh Christ.
But also I think one of your USPs was you are able to just run one song into another. You don't pause a lot of the time in between your numbers. You don't pause for an applause. You just keep going, and I think people like that constant flow. You never break it.
I did that in pubs because I just thought, well, I didn't want people to feel obliged to have to applaud or respond every 3 minutes after every song. So I would just segue songs. So if I was doing an hour in a pub, I would probably do 3 or 4 pieces of music on which I would segue and run songs together, and then I might stop. And then sometimes, and then eventually I just got to the stage where it's like, okay, I start at 8 o'clock. The next moment that there would be any pause would be at 9 o'clock when I finished that. And I would just run the whole thing. And it just meant that people can kind of drop in and out, but not have to put down their beer and go and clap and then pick it
Very
up.
good.
Oh, the hardship. But I mean, that was...
You know what the people want.
Yeah, but then it became a bit of a USP, and then people were then trying to guess, well, what songs are you going to do next? And it then became impressive because...
God, he hasn't stopped for a whole
literally
hour.
hasn't stopped
Your
for an hour.
fingers must be raw. And sometimes they were.
Yeah.
Have you got any negatives from being a musician?
As it is with any kind of self-employed work, when you can, if it's a bit off season, you can then be looking at it, and then you can be thinking, oh, what if it doesn't pick up? What if it doesn't sort of, you know,
have I got enough to pay all my bills this month?
Well, it's just anything. It's the, you know, you kind of have that.
There's no security of
no,
like,
there's not.
Yes, I know each month I'm going to get this amount in.
But then similarly, more with singing, I think it would have been with the majority of other members of the band. If you're not well and you lose your voice, then physically you actually can't.
And then it's not like that work gets delayed and you do it the next week. You've lost that job then. You can't, that's...
No, 100%.
And then sometimes you can become a bit of a workaholic in that case, because you think, well, I need to take the work while it's there.
And it can be a bit of a balance that the more work that you do, the more run down you can make yourself. And so it has to be a balance. So from that point of view, you do have to be mindful of looking after yourself physically. But I don't know, I mean, I feel like I'm quite a positive person, so I think I'm having to really think.
To be honest, if those are the only negatives, really, you know, not having a job security. So you're constantly having to find work.
I think as well. I mean, you can also look at the other sort of side of, which is a lot rarer, and people do talk about them, but I mean, you hear with like weddings and people talking about bridezillas and things like that, but actually I almost never had any issues with those people. But what we did have issues with, more so in pubs, but it was very, very rare, and maybe I learned on how to deal with it, is, funnily enough, in a pub, drunk people. There's people that would come up and start trying to have a conversation with you while you're playing the guitar and singing.
Holding their drink near your electrical equipment.
Absolutely.
Swaying. Or trying to sing into the microphone. And
I remember I inadvertently made what turned out to be a relatively good joke, which the rest of the pub got. But at the time, I didn't quite realise it, because there was a woman that came up to me and she literally closed and said, "If you sing a song by Kasabian, I'll come and sing with you." And so I then turned the mic and just said that. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this lady said if I sing a song by Kasabian, she'll come and sing with me. So here's a song by ABBA." And then I went
I think if you can deal with those things in humour, then it helps.
Yeah.
Even if it's really annoying for you as well, I think it...
But I mean, that's just it.
You're
in a pub. Why should you be surprised if there are drunk people? But there
and
should be.
What you're doing.
But there should be a certain. I use the word etiquette in people going up and talking to someone that is doing a job and physically can't answer back, and it's when that they look at you and it's like, "Why aren't you talking to me?" It's like, "I'm not talking to you because I'm actually singing a song."
They just stand and stare at you.
Yeah. But it's like anything. It's worth doing stuff like that if you want to do it, because then you learn how to
deal with different
with those people, and you deal with them in a polite but forceful manner, or that kind of actually that and working along those. And I think that you kind of learn the psychology of it and the psychology of those people. And as much as I know that those were downsides, I have very, very few memories of anything ever bad. And just thinking, that was hideous, that was horrible.
Well, that's good. In all those years.
Yeah.
What advice or top tips would you give to someone thinking about getting into the gig life?
Okay, one example of a way that you could start it, and would be quite a safe way of doing it, is, and if you don't play an instrument, it's fine. Let's just talk about it from a point of view of being a singer, potentially a solo singer.
Yeah.
Learn 10 songs. Get 10 to 15 songs and know them really well. And then go to a pub, if you know it's a pub that does live music, and even if you just say, well, look, on the night that you have like a band playing, can I do a half-hour set beforehand? One to get a bit of experience, and two, just to kind of see how it goes. If it goes down well, would you consider me then being able to do a whole evening or 1 hour? There are more open mics now available, but that is
They're
good.
not paid.
No, that's not, but that's good for just getting the experience of singing in front of people.
Yeah, and good if you want to try out something new.
Yeah, but I'm also very aware that actually it needs to be a balance. Sing the songs that you want to sing, but go along to live sort of gigs, but really kind of listen to the response you get back from the audience, because like I said earlier, the pubs where you'll be able to really kind of develop that trade are going to tend to be a lot more sort of places that they want cover songs.
Yeah.
So, be aware of actually what songs
do they want to hear?
Do the audience want to hear? And have a balance. And you can sing 1 or 2 songs to think, okay, this is a song I've always wanted to hear. It might not go down too well with the audience. Just think, well, don't have a whole set of those, because what you don't want it to feel like it becomes totally self-indulgent.
Yes.
And it's a balance. It's a balance of, what people want to hear as well as the songs that you want to sing and that you enjoy singing.
Yeah.
But actually you think, in the end, think of it in a business sense. What's going to get me back in here to do more sort of gigs? it's nice because it teaches you to be able to sing, but to become very aware of what's going on while you're singing as well, while you're performing, and it teaches you a little bit of that stagecraft and how to perform to people.
And interact with the audience.
And interact with an audience, and how to kind of try and get their attention without aggressively trying to do that.
Well, there was a bar in London. It's not open anymore. They've closed down. But I used to go and do cabaret nights there. But it would be like, say, a group of 10 of us, and we'd all do 2 songs each from musicals.
Yeah.
Loosely. There's so many jukebox musicals now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But some of them would go up and sing lovely songs that suited their voice and they wanted to sing, but they would perform it as if they were in a musical theatre show on the stage.
Yeah.
Or it would not be a song I would necessarily pick for like a night out in a bar. And people have come to hear songs from musicals, but it would be like a really obscure one that no one really knows. Or they wouldn't interact with the audience so much because they were performing it like they were in the theatre, which is fine. But that, to me, felt like the wrong sort of thing. So when I went after the first time that I had done it, I went back a few times. But then I would pick songs that I thought, the audience are going to like this one. They'll interact with this one. So I do like one from Fame or something.
Yeah. The interesting thing with that is, and it's kind of simple when you think about it. Do something fun, something a bit different, but something accessible. Because in the end, actually, if you can get an audience on your side, and if you have 2 songs, get them on your side, get them liking you, get them excited to hear what you're going to do next, and then you can hit them with something that's, and I say the word something perhaps a bit more self-indulgent, but you know what I mean.
One
from
that you would actually like to sing.
Yeah, absolutely, and it might not be a big crowd pleaser number, but it's something more, and they're more likely to want to kind of listen to you and take the time to allow you to kind of go and do that. Whereas if it, sometimes it can be a bit too self-indulgent, but again,
I think that comes from experience.
That comes from experience, and that comes from trying to, I think personally, because I've always been more theatrical in my musical leanings, so I think in terms of an overall story, I think of like a beginning, a middle and an end. The songs that I used to write and do stuff with Gunph and subsequently for myself as well, I think in terms of albums. So I think, well, the first song was to grab people and maybe set up the idea of the album, and then I'd also think, well, this is a cracking song to finish off the album, but then okay, how am I going to finish the first side of the LP before you turn it over and have those? And having it as a story in the same way that if you went to go and see a musical, if they were all slow songs in the first half, they might be, in terms of the storyline, totally valid. But by the time you get to the 5th song, if it sounds like the previous 4, as an audience member, you've switched off. I don't like to name names,
but Dear Evan Hansen. But
but that's just it.
Exhausting. They're all valid. They all move that story along, but I was exhausted. Act 2 came. I thought, bloody, surely not another crying number. Surely not. But no, it was. That's fantastic advice. Bum, 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 bum. Obviously, last time I asked you for podcast recommendations, so this time I'm going to ask you, what are your book recommendations? Can you give me 2?
Okay, well, one is going to be a very obvious to you.
I know.
Series, of course it is. It's sci-fi fantasy, to be perfectly honest, but it is exceptional. So well written. The characters are brilliant. It takes you on a really very strong storyline, but it feels realistically, and any of the political leanings that in there, nothing feels like it is just easily resolved. Everything comes at a price, and it feels like it is real, despite being in the world that isn't quite here where we're at, but at its heart it's a human story. Is the Red Rising saga by an absolute country mile. I just think exceptionally well written, very accessible characters, and great, by Pierce Brown. The final book of 7 should be coming out. I think it's going to be early next year. So if you started reading it now, then you just might be in time.
In time for the last one. I mean, also, we're talking twists like Game of Thrones style twists. Like, you never know what's coming.
Yeah.
It is a very good series.
Yeah, extremely good. And at some point, it probably might be made into a TV show or a film.
Oh,
but
God, I hope
what
so.
I really do like is that the author isn't just setting out to get it done quick. He wants to get it done right, and so it will only get made when the right people are on board and get it done in the right way. And I think that's very, very valid.
Yeah.
By looking at it, other book to kind of go and listen to, and I think another kind of series of books, although they are quite standalone, are by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I think it was called Shadow of the Wind.
Yeah.
And I think there were 4 books in that sequence. There might have been one other novella that fits in there as well, but they are just wonderful, based in Spain, and particularly to do with reading books and themselves and the power of things like that, but just beautifully written, and just a very, very nice place to kind of go and sort of escape into, but still lovely, honest characters of all age ranges as well. So what was nice about that, I feel like anybody could relate to a character at some point within those stories. But yeah, really nice, and just really beautiful looking books as well. I mean, I know it's that don't judge a book by its cover, but they are very nice looking books as well. So those are
you want to emboss the spine of your book? I will have a look. Thank you very much.
So as it stands, there are 10 books of 2 series for you.
That should keep you going for a whole year if you did a book a month. Lovely. You can go and follow Jamie on Instagram or Facebook at oddshoe_photography. Because obviously he's a photographer in his normal life. I'm sure we'll have another episode where we talk about photography, because technically that is another creative job which I know a lot of performers end up going into.
I like the fact you said normal life.
I was being very generous, wasn't I?
It's the most generous you've been all year.
We're only 4 months in.
Yeah. And also listen to my music, Odd Shoe Guy.
Yes.
Odd Shoe, one word. On every streaming platform now. Listen to my albums. And a new single's coming out every month. And will do for the next year.
That's how many songs he's had sat in a box for all these decades that are seeing the light of day.
At last.
Well, thank you for joining me again.
Thank
I will
you,
have
wife.
you back again, husband.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's because I'm close and convenient.
I know.
That's my USP nowadays.
Close and convenient. I know, and I've got some other people to interview, but everyone's very busy, including myself. So this was perfect timing, because it's been like 10 episodes since you were last on. This will be episode 11.
My goodness me.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Well, thank you ever so much for having me.
I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. You can have me anytime.
You're so giving.
That's all right. I thought that was a husband and wife relationship.
On that note, thank you everyone for listening, and
Thank you.
hopefully come back and listen again next time with whatever lovely guest I have upon me.
And God help me.
And from one creative to another, break a leg, guys. Bye. Bum, 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 bum.